Hello and welcome to the Art of Decluttering. I'm Amy Revell, your host. I'm so glad that you're with me this week. Whether this is your first or 10th or 410th episode, I hope that you feel like this is a little break in your ears each week, that you can get a bit of motivation, a bit of inspiration, and you can kind of see your stuff with fresh eyes, see your home, your possessions, and the job ahead of you of decluttering and organising as, not too big a hill to climb. And what I want to talk about today is imperfection. Now I'm just having like a midlife crisis of whether it's imperfection or imperfection, but it is definitely imperfection. I just had a moment. One of the things that I think we really get stuck on when it comes to organising and decluttering is this concept of perfection. I am a perfectionist, even though I highly value imperfection. So I accept imperfection from others and then desire perfection from myself, which I think is probably a common experience for many of you as well, where you're like, oh no, I don't expect perfection except from myself. And then you're like setting the standards so high for yourself that you fail anyway, and you have imperfection, but it's a failed imperfection rather than an expected and accepted imperfection. And I think one of the challenges that I want to put out to you early on in this episode is if you expect imperfection, you are much more likely to accept imperfection. Because if you get what you're expecting, you accept it. You're like, yeah, great, that's exactly what I was expecting. And so I want to challenge you to lower the bar. Lower the bar when you're decluttering, that you have to make sure it's perfect, that you get rid of all the right things, that you declutter well. Sometimes you just want to do a bit, and it doesn't matter that it's not perfect, and it doesn't matter that it's not thorough, and it doesn't matter that it's not a deep dive, but you're just doing something. And sometimes you need to just accept imperfection when you're organising. And I want to give you some tips and tricks today around embracing imperfection with organising. I find it really disheartening as a professional organiser to spend too much time on Instagram following other professional organisers that do the pretty thing. I love the pretty thing. I don't really do the pretty thing very well. I find it boring, to be honest. I like having all containers matching, but as soon as you're like, can we have pretty vinyl labels? My eyes roll back in my head and I'm like, ugh, no, can we please just use a label maker and smash this out and get the job done? So perfection in that also looks different for different people. So when I would step back from a pantry, when I've got matching containers and, everything's decanted and stuff, I go, that's perfect. And I've used the really cheap labels that are, in my mind, perfect. They're just from Kmart and you can type it into your label maker, slap it on, bright as, happy as Larry, whatever. But if what you're expecting is it to be Instagram perfect and it's got like these vinyl labels and every single one is like cut out individually and put on and on the right angle and and the lighting's right, that's what you're going to be expecting for your perfection. And anything less than that is going to be unacceptable or frustrating for you. And so I think sometimes what we need to do is lower the standard and expect imperfection so you accept imperfection. I'm hoping that if you're listening from a country other than Australia today, you're not struggling with me having the differentiation between expect, E-X-P-E-C-T, and accept, A-C-C-E-P-T. So I hope that you're hearing the difference, because as I'm saying it, I'm like, I'm not sure if the Australian accent gives enough differentiation between those two words. But now I've spelt it out, hopefully it helps. So let me give you some examples of how I set the bar to a level of imperfection so that I feel like I succeed rather than fail. One of them is, you might have heard me talk about it, is how I organize things in my wardrobe. So my workout gear just gets all shoved in a drawer. So leggings, all in a drawer together. Socks, all in a drawer together. I do pair them, but I don't order them, systemize. They just get thrown in. Let me think. Undies and bras, just thrown in a drawer. Undies drawer, bra drawer. Pajamas, just thrown in. So what I'm doing is I'm intentionally setting out what my standard of imperfection is going to be. And maybe it's actually more about having a standard of imperfection than ever expecting perfection. So my standard of imperfection in my wardrobe is I just want the stuff contained. I don't want it ordered. I don't want it folded. I don't want it color-coded. I don't want it rolled. I don't want any of that. I just want it in the drawer, right? So another area of imperfection would be, let me think, in my house. Okay, towels. I want the towels folded in the right place, but it doesn't matter if, so we've got, let me go back a step. Our bathroom, we have grey towels. Kids' bathroom, we have black towels. The grey towels in our bathroom are slightly off tone to each other, just simply because the place where we buy towels from obviously just had, it was a different batch. That's all it is. They're slightly off. So the imperfection is I just want all of the grey towels together. I'm not going to try and separate out the two different varying types of grey towels. Let's go with imperfection in the kitchen. So we've got two sets of cutlery, and I do keep them in two different cutlery trays. However, I'm not the person that unstacks the dishwasher. And so imperfection looks like sometimes in one cutlery tray, there's a combination of both different types of forks or both different types of knives. And actually the imperfection is, look, the forks are together. Amy, how much time are you going to go spend undoing the work that your kids have done and putting the dishes away and wanting to separate out the two sets? So you have to decide what your level of imperfection is going to look like. Another example, so in our pots and pans drawer, I don't try and make all the lids go on the pots and pans. I just kind of let the lids be in the drawer and the pots be in the drawer. And if you opened it up, you could easily grab a pot and you could find a lid because it's not cluttered, but it's not perfectly organized either. And the same goes for so many different areas in my life where it's like, if I embrace minimalism and I embraced a decluttered area or category, then actually the level of perfection needed reduces significantly. If I think about the tech in my office, I've got a pencil casey, pouchy, makeup-y thing, like it's just a soft pack, whatever, and all the cords are in there. So they're all bound and I know which is which, but it's not perfection because they're all in together. If you open up a stationery drawer at someone's house, do they have all the stationery in the one drawer? Or does it have to be perfect and that the staples are in one little section and the blue tack's in another section and the binder clips are in another section? Like, what does the level of imperfection that you're willing to accept look like? With kids' toys, does each category have to be separated out? Or are you okay with all animals being in together, even if they're from different play sets or they're different sizes? Or are you okay with all dolls together, even if some of them are little dolls and some of them are Barbie dolls and some of them are rag dolls? Like, what does imperfection look like? Because the reality is you are going to have an imperfectly organized home, whether you like it or not, because there are humans that live in your home. So rather than expecting perfection, I think it's really important to kind of understand what level of imperfection are you okay with, and then aim for that, be okay with that. When you're organizing a drawer, for instance, you can have mini dividers within a drawer. So a drawer is a container, and then you can further divide the drawer with drawer dividers and divide that further. So let's say you've got hair products and you've got little girls. You might have clips, you might have hairbands, you might have bobby pins. I shouldn't have picked this category because I don't have girls and I don't wear a lot of hair things myself. But let's say there's like 3 or 4 or 5. You might have ribbons and hair things and headbands and whatever. You can just have a drawer where you put all of the hair stuff in. Or the next level of perfection or the next level of organization is to subcategorize so that you've got all the different subcategories. If you're someone who is going to be driven crazy by everything just being thrown in together, maybe you do need to categorize, and that's your level of imperfection, because even then it's not going to be perfect. Or maybe you actually need to kind of throw out all these mini drawer dividers that are making life harder and just have a drawer as a category and just be like, you know what, I'm okay as long as all the hair stuff is in this drawer. Let me go to a category that I'm much more comfortable with, and that is sporting equipment. So I was looking at it today because we're preparing for my eldest son's 18th birthday this coming week. And so we've just been doing a bit of a tidy up outside. So we have a lot of balls. We've got soccer balls and volleyballs and lots of basketballs and footballs and cricket balls. And then we've got a whole nother container that's got a lot of cricket bats and stumps. And like, we've just got a lot of that type of thing. My theory is as long as they can find them, I don't care if they're not perfectly organized. So at the moment, it's like a ball box and a bat box is kind of how it goes. So broad categories. Yes, there is volleyballs in with basketballs. Yes, there are cricket balls in with volleyballs. Yes, there are bocce balls in. But the balls are all together, and that's the level of perfection that I'm expecting. And what's important when it comes to what you expect in perfection, it needs to be at a level that is reasonable for the people that you're expecting it of. If you're expecting it of yourself, go for your life. If you want to try and hit as close to perfection as possible, all props to you. However, if you have a partner, if you have kids, if you have grandkids, if you live with a housemate, you have to take into account the level of perfection that they also can reach or not reach. And the level of frustration that you're going to experience also needs to come into play. So it's like this, the weights of like, how much frustration and how much perfection, because the frustration goes up as the perfection goes up, and generally speaking, the frustration and the perfection come down together. So you need to find that balance for you. If you're going to be super frustrated by it being messy, you need to up the perfectionism. If you're going to be super frustrated by everyone in the house not being able to follow your perfect system, let it go. Reduce it. Go to a level of imperfection that you can accept. Right? So we're going to that accept. I can accept it like this. I look at my handbag sometimes. I'm like, there is like 3 different spots in my handbag. It's a pretty small, it's just a crossbody little bag, but it's got 3 sections, and the back section is kind of medications and masks and tissues, and it's kind of my medically, first aidy, healthy type pocket, and it's kind of organized. The next pocket is a red hot mess. My phone goes in there, or a drink bottle goes in there. I often have mints in there, or, a half packet of something down the bottom, or a protein bar. Like, it can be a red hot mess, but it's still contained within that pocket. And so I just encourage you, no matter where you are looking around your home, don't try and aim for perfection. Let's go for imperfection, that which you expect you can accept. And then you're going to find that level of frustration goes all the way down. I hope this is helpful. I'm loving the freedom I'm giving myself as I aim to reduce the perfectionism that I expect from myself, and that maybe even I put on others. Now I'm saying it out loud, even though I was saying at the start, I don't. Sometimes I do. So be encouraged that when you expect imperfection, you're going to be able to accept imperfection a whole lot better. I hope it changes the way that you see your house. I hope it changes the expectations that you put on yourself, the systems that you set up, the way that you kind of plan. I want you to be realistic about that. And I really do think that it'll bring some freedom to you in the way that you declutter, in the way that you organize, the way that you live in the family and the household and the environment and the workplace that you're in. Yay. I feel like a little cheerleader at the end of today. Like, yay, 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 imperfection. Expect imperfection and accept imperfection. Awesome. Well, I hope it's been helpful. Thank you to all of those of you who have been leaving Google reviews for the podcast. You're making my little heart beat faster and my face shine. So thank you. I look forward to speaking to you next week. And until then, enjoy the freedom. I would like to acknowledge the Wurundjeri people, who are the traditional custodians of the land this podcast is recorded on. I would also like to pay respects to their elders, both past and present, of the Kulin Nation, and extend that respect to other Indigenous Australians. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed today's episode, I would love you to rate and review the show on your podcast app. That will help others to find the Art of Decluttering podcast as well. If you'd like any more information, you can visit theartofdecluttering.com.au, and I would love to see you in my Facebook group. Just search the Art of Decluttering community on Facebook and join today. I hope that you have an incredible rest of your day and enjoy the freedom.